Hey everybody, welcome to the 1B.A video. So we're starting in the second part of chapter 1. These are a little bit different than what we've been talking about. That's why I've kind of made it a B unit. And what we're going to be talking about is how to convert units of measure. And so the units of measure that we're focusing on in these videos are going to be measures of length. And we're going to be talking about the American system of measuring versus the metric system. How do we convert both within the American system, the metric system, and how do we go between them? So you'll notice on your note pages that you have boxes that look like this. These boxes are where we're going to find all the information we need. We're hopefully going to practice with them so that we get really comfortable with it. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to convert one unit of measure to another. So if we're going to go, for example, from yards to inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to use some proportions. So first thing we're going to do, if we look at the yards, 7 1/3. 7 1/3, I can convert to a decimal. I can leave it as 7 1/3. I could also write it as 22 thirds because 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 is 22. Any of them will work. Right now I'm just going to do 22 over 3 yards. And now I'm going to use a proportion. I need one that has yards and inches. So I notice that I have 36 inches is 1 yard. So if 36 inches is 1 yard, that means I can put 36 inches is 1 yard. And what I'm looking for when I'm using proportions like this is I want this yard, which is on top, to be with this yards in the bottom. Okay, so using my calculator, you can use a calculator on these, it's fine. Remember, we're allowed to use a 4 function calculator at all times. So I'm going to do 22 divided by 3. This is 7 1/3. Okay, 7.3 repeating, and I'm going to multiply that by 36. And so what that 264 means is in 7 1/3 yard, I get 264 inches. So my answer here is going to be 264. That's my final answer right there. Okay, so we're going to keep practicing these. In this one, you'll notice I'm going from inches to feet. So I'm going to take 48 inches, and now I need the inches on the bottom and the feet on top. Okay, so the ratio that's going to relate these is this top equation right here. There's 12 inches in 1 foot. So if I multiply across the top and across the bottom, I can put this over 1. I get 48 over 12. Straight across, top and bottom. 48 divided by 12 is 4. That means 48 inches is the same thing as 4 feet. Okay? So there's some more examples. Let's go through these. 25 feet, we're going to change into yards. So we start with our feet. Okay, we're going to have 25 feet. And when I need to find a proportion, feet goes on the bottom, yards goes on the top. Okay, so if I look at my equations, right, I see that 3 feet is 1 yard. So 3 feet is 1 yard. I can put this over 1, and when I straight multiply, I get 25 over 3. That, if you use your calculator, is going to give us 8.3 repeating. You can write it that way, or you could call that 8 1/3. So we have 8 1/3 yard. Okay, next one. We're going from feet to miles. So 23,760 feet, and then over here I need feet on the bottom, miles on top. We, especially since we live at altitude, we know that 1 mile is the same thing as 5,280 feet. So again, I'm going to put this first part over 1, and I'm going to multiply straight across the top, and then straight across the bottom, and then I'm going to use my calculator to help me. So 23760 divided by 5,280, that's 4.5. So this is 4.5 or 4.5 miles. Okay. If you feel confident and you want to try some on your own, remember you can always pause, try it, and then resume the video. So if we go ahead and look at the next one, we're going from yards to feet. So I'm going to have 2 5/6. I could write that as a decimal, or I could write it as a fraction. So I'm just going to leave it as a fraction for now. And when I write my proportion, I need to have my yards on the bottom and my feet on top. Remember, that is so that the yards cancel out. So they should always be opposite one another, one on top and one on the bottom. Okay, so if I think about what do I know about the relationship between yards and feet, I know that 1 yard is the same thing as 3 feet. So on my graphing calculator, I'm going to do 5/6 plus 2. That gives me 2 5/6. So there's my 2 5/6, and I need to multiply that by 3, and that gives me 8.5. So 8.5 feet is the same thing as 2 5/6 yards. One last example here for our American conversions. We have 1.5 miles, so that's 1.5 miles, and we want to convert that to feet. So miles goes on the bottom so that they're opposite each other, and feet goes on the top. Okay, so 1 mile is the same thing as 5,280 feet. Put it over 1, multiply straight across the top. That means I'm going to move my calculator to the side. 1.5 times 5,280. And that would give me 7,920 feet. Okay, so I'm going to pause here, okay, end this video, and then we'll go through metric.